Different is better than clean. Now, what do I mean by that? You can have sounds that are very clean, sounds that are perfectly mixed, perfectly tuned, and they use tones that you're familiar with. What I've started to realize is that you can't stand out unless you're different. Now, I based the start of this phase in my career because of samples. Any beats battle was based on a sample. I pretty much used next to no MIDI. Now, the opposite of this is playing piano fully, being able to play different instruments, being able to design my own sounds. And it's not because I look at using samples as something I want to stop doing, but rather I want to be able to supplement my own personality in through my sound design, my playing of keys and instruments. Even though it may not be clean, it's different. And being able to imprint your own personality as much as you can is key. That's how you begin to stand out. That's how you begin to enjoy making music more. That's how people begin to see yourself. And the main thing I've realized is that it doesn't matter if I use keys or use samples. The main thing is your ear. You've developed your ear by listening to tons of music over your lifetime, even if you haven't realized it. Your ear is tuned to things that you like, and you're able to take things and use them because it sounds good to you personally based on what you've heard. Now, of course, to preface this, we have partnered with Unison about their MIDI chord pack. And I took this opportunity to document an important part in my musical journey. Now, Unison reached out and they wanted me to make a video with this. And this presented an interesting opportunity on how I've been approaching music lately. Now, a big part of how I started to make music was to just go on Splice, search for samples, and figure out what I would do from there. And what that all means is you need a place of inspiration. You need a place to start. Now, where do you start if you don't know how to play chords, if you don't know music theory? Start with MIDI, almost treating it like a sample. Let's get started and listen to the beat. Now, the point here isn't about the mix or anything like that, but I want to go over how I started. This Unison MIDI chord pack is free, and I'm sure you've seen people on YouTube talk a lot about it. It's linked in the description if you want to go grab it. But one of the things I mentioned was sticking to one key. I lately have been playing in C sharp minor. However, if I want to branch out and begin to work with different keys and work with the chords within those keys with the Unison MIDI chord pack, I can go into F sharp minor and just slap in a chord progression. And so let's try this. These chords immediately bring inspiration to me. The voicings of the chords are not very regular. They go interesting places. It's not like your regular pop type of chords. But one of the main things they do is also allow you to branch off from them. Since this is MIDI, I can manipulate it however I want. I can cut sections out. I can make chords come earlier in the beat, and I can see the individual notes to be able to know what they're playing. And I've spent plenty of time just sitting there during a beat battle, maybe 20, 30 minutes, just trying to figure out the bass notes because intuitively I had not thought to just reach to the keyboard and try and figure them out. It doesn't eliminate trial and error. However, it eliminates the possible choices for you. You can go from seeing what key a sample is in to being able to play that key out to be able to find those notes that you need. However, with these preset chords, I can begin to see it immediately. Now, as I mentioned, you have a lot more flexibility with MIDI. So although I like those chords, I wanted to be able to imprint myself on them. So following hearing those chords, I wanted to mess with the timings, mess with where the chords came in, mess with where individual notes came in, and took out whole chords and inserted some of my own. So this is what it sounds like after. Now we have a starting place for that. We can begin to look at how I expanded on this. So now I'm able to take the keyboard and I know what key it's in. So I can see the individual notes and I can actually play the chord out by hand if I wanted to. And I came up with this melody. Now this sound is from a Juno 60 emulator, as well as having some reverb on it, having some delay, and multi-band dynamics to cut the mids. So moving on from there, I mentioned the bass notes. By being able to know what the chords are, I'm able to take the root notes of those and transfer it to my own bass notes. And so here, the bass is literally just a sine wave. And this is what they all sound like. Now, of course, this isn't the most advanced thing or the catchiest thing ever, but a lot of this is just about being in the moment, not overthinking it, just getting something down for a good idea and moving on. And because of the ability of MIDI, I was able to mess with some interesting sounds and interesting chords. I've been very inspired by Monty Booker lately, and so I was using some of his inspired sounds on my keyboard and the pitch bend knob to create this. And all of this was made using 0 samples, just sound design and from the MIDI chords. And so all of the melodic sections together sound like this. And of course, I was helped out by a few friends on stream. If you want to come join us on stream while we're making music and send samples in, the link is in the description. This is what everything sounds together with their samples. So all of that was based on just MIDI, and that allows me to do what I do best, which is to begin building out drums. Now, a lot of the stress would be, what am I going to do melodically? Because I know that I can figure out the drums either way. But in this case, I actually started with the melody. I started with the most stressful part. Let's just hear what the drums sound like. So to start things off with the drums, I've lately been inspired a lot by Majid Jordan. Percussion is from Addictive Drums. It's their 909 emulation. This is what the percussion sounds like. And this, of course, is delayed. Next up, with the snare, it's just a simple snare that is brought behind the beat. And the kick is in a 4 on the floor pattern. I made sure that whatever snare I used would be quite heavy in the low end in order to supplement the missing kick. So this is what all 3 of them sound like together. From there on, I wanted to add some extra percussion. As you know, I love to chop percussion. So this was the original percussion loop, which I thought had a lot of interesting elements, but I wanted to chop it up a bit. After using beat warping to decrease the decay on each of these samples, getting a slight delay on it and a side chain, this is what it sounds like by itself. And this is what it sounds like in the context with the other percussion. Now from there, I always like to add little fills to keep things interesting. However, lately I haven't been using breaks as much, but rather interesting sound effects. And these add to just bring some variation into the track and to keep it interesting. And that's really the whole beat. It may be considered a lot simpler than what I make normally. However, I consider it less cluttered and more focused in terms of my idea. You can clearly hear the Monty Booker inspiration. You can hear the 80s influence, the Majid Jordan influence, and sort of my own ideas in there. Big shout out to Unison for sponsoring this video. If you want to go check out their MIDI chord pack, it's in the description in the first link. Peace!